Yeah.
Hey y'all, it is Stacy and I'm here with Michelle and Roxy, and we're going to do our first ever girl talk. Um, we're just going to kind of talk about what our life is like a regular conversation that we have on a daily basis. Mind you, this is not something that is secretive. We do love our veterans, and there's no doubt that there are days they frustrate us to absolutely no end,
Yes.
and having that support structure to be able to talk to is very important. So so Michelle and Roxy are part of our team. They keep the groups going and the other stuff going. And Michelle has been with me doing this since probably day three. I think once we started this, Michelle came right on board, and we've had Roxy with us. What, probably 6 weeks, right?
Somewhere around there.
And they're such great people and like-minded. So we just kind of want to talk about our week and how frustrating it can be at times. So whichever one of y'all want a conversation.
Well, when I have my struggles with my veteran, I like to name my personality or whatever the dragon
Yeah.
because I feel like a dragon with the flames and everything.
Yeah,
and it's not easy. But I after I have my moments of being dragon lady, I come back down to earth and I try to find my peace, so to speak. And part of that is finding out what will work for me and what won't work in terms of feeling better, or when the madness gets really bad, where do you go? How do you manage? Because you don't want to get a divorce, but on the flip side is you don't want to be in a crazy room with pads all over the place.
And I think it's important that for me, especially, I don't mind sharing that there have been days when I'm like, why am I doing this and why am I still here? And I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels that way. I know that of the three of us, I'm not the only one who feels that way.
Oh no.
There are days that
No, absolutely not.
there are days that you want to, and not whole days. There's usually moments in the day, other than Michelle has had a bigger struggle this past couple of weeks, but there are moments that you want to, you ask yourself, why am I still here? And I think that for me, when we formed this group, I was thought that I was doing it to help other people, and in reality, they've helped me way more. We all tend to text each other somewhere between 5 and 7 a.m. every morning, and throughout the day when we're having our crisis. But I think that support is critically important, because
I can't tell you how vital it's been for me as well. There's no way in hell I could have done it without you guys either. No way.
Right?
Thank you.
Feel better. And yes, thank you. Both
Thank
of you.
you.
It's amazing.
It is. It's hard. And like, where I struggle is 90% of the time, Carl and I are great. Great.
Yeah.
But you never know when that moment's going to happen. And like yesterday, we were great all day. We didn't have any issues and fixed dinner. And it was one of those nights where we kind of did our own thing, which is not something we normally do. But like, he was eating dumplings, and when he got the bowl, this whole roll the shoulders, you could hear it before you ever walk in. And I'm like, either Roxy's sitting in my living room being dragon lady, or it's going to be a bad day. And you just pray for, if I could have one prayer answered, it would be 24 hours of normal.
Yeah.
I mean, one prayer would be 24 hours of normal. But we were fine until dinner. And I'm like, what the hell? Where did that go?
Yeah. What happened?
Yeah.
That's part of it. That's the life that we live. Like you sometimes you really don't know what occurred. Then you start exploring to see what did trigger or what was said or something.
Like when if he starts to go distant on me, it's like, okay, what's going on? Because he doesn't really, he's just now probably in the last 6 months and especially the last 3 months, more and
Yeah.
more starting to verbalize things that aggravates him. Like I started laughing the other day as we were leaving the house. It was like within, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes, there were 3 things on the road that was driving him crazy. Where in the past, I always thought that he was like a saint because he never complained about anything up until a year and a half ago when everything started coming out. I guess he was pushing it all down. And so now he's verbalizing and he's complaining about this and complaining about that and complaining about this. And then all I just did was just laugh. I didn't get mad because it was like, finally, I'm not
So
the only.
he's sharing emotions with you now, right? That he never did before.
Yes, because before it was just, he was flat.
Yeah.
I go to him with all my highs and my lows, and he was flat. And so it grounded me. But the flip side is I didn't know that he was pushing everything down,
Mm-hmm.
and all this stuff has to come out. And so now it is.
Well, my thing is if I would laugh like that with Carl, he would nut up. It would be like, I mean, yeah. And so I think that's, he would just be like nutting up, like we're trying to communicate. And
well, he said, he goes, why are you laughing? I said, all these years I've tried to get you to talk and express feeling, and here you are.
in a quarter of a mile. Yeah.
It hasn't been 2 miles yet since we left the house, but I'll take it.
And I see if I laughed, it would not be a good situation.
Probably not.
But see, I tend to be more serious and more like intense.
Yeah.
So if I started to go like that with him, then we'd probably fight. So it was just good for me to release it. And I'm actually happy that he's starting to do that, even though it might be a little negative.
Yeah,
He's like,
I do. I think that when they start to talk and that's tough because especially when they get on a subject.
Where's my puppet?
I don't know, Michelle, but you better find it. It just goes, it's like being a dead horse. But 3 times last night after the whole shoulder roll, breathing deep, and we were talking, Carl's words to me 3 times were, how much more can I beat this dead horse? And I'm like, victory,
you got a revelation there.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I can't even leave my victories taped to the wall anymore because he analyzes them and says, well, that's not quite exactly what happened. Oh, yes, it is.
Like your victory card boxes.
Yeah, now that's why it's in a box, because when they were taped to the wall, it was like, well, that isn't exactly the way it happened. And it was not 2 days ago, it was 3 days and 28 minutes ago. I'm like, is he gonna say on my car?
If I would put mine on the wall, then he would be he would start to deny any of those things. So I just enjoy them quietly.
Just celebrate them quietly.
Celebrate them quietly.
As long as you celebrate them, that's all that counts. That's all.
I'm like,
I mean, when I do the stranger dance, and I think that's just something we all do, is that you have these moments and you're like a victory, and then moments change so quickly. And I mean, if I had to say that was the hardest part of the journey, it's not dealing with the PTSD moments. It's the not knowing when they're coming and how something really, really good can get really, really bad, really, really
quickly.
Yes.
Quickly.
Well, and then the trouble for me, you two are you guys are ahead of me in some ways, because even though he has an awareness of the PTSD now where he's accepting it, he still hasn't gotten to the point where he is willing to get the help. And so,
Yeah.
And that will come, you know, I mean, hopefully you can't guarantee that, but
yeah, I mean, it's hard. And
And
that's why I've kind of really pushed for this piece of land. I'm like, look, you know, it's not that I want to leave him, but the flip side is if I want to go chop down some wood to get rid of some negative energy, maybe for a week or two, that just might be good so we don't fight. And maybe he can start to figure out, she's leaving. What's wrong?
I don't know.
yeah, it is. I think that, but I will say this. There's so many therapies out there, and there's drug related therapies, and there's what Damon's going through, the what CPT, Michelle.
Yes. Not anymore though.
Yay.
Effective yesterday.
Yeah. That was a decision Michelle and I talked about for a long time because it kept him in that place. It was bad.
Okay.
So there are all these therapies and all these options, and everything works different for everybody. But the one common thread I have is whatever tool they use, or that I'm finding is a common thread, they file their stuff. They may file it in boxes, right?
Yeah.
But they take all their little files and they file, because they'll talk about toolbox, right? So they have this toolbox and they put their stuff in little boxes to learn to compartmentalize. And then the label on the file box that they're putting all the boxes in is called avoidance.
Yeah. Yep. I hate that box. It's the most, it causes the most problems.
It sure does.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But they all have one.
They all have one. And you'll get to hear them talk about, well, I've learned all these tools in therapy and I'm using my tools. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's great. But where are you putting them tools? In the box of avoidance, you know? And so, yeah.
Doesn't work that way.
I want to dump my toolbox. I have a toolbox too, and it's a real one, and it's got screwdrivers and pliers and hammers and drill bits.
You actually use them to tool things.
Right, for the tool thing. You know, it's a little difficult to unscrew and screw with the hammer. I'm just saying. However,
You could probably make it happen though.
Probably. I'm really thinking about multitasking and dumping that my personal toolbox out, finding the hammer, and just going. I mean, there's days that I feel that.
Well, that's what I was about, cutting down some trees.
Okay, remind me not to go to Roxie's when she's pouring out her toolbox, because she got like axes in hers.
Lady.
But she'll always have a constant supply of firewood.
That's right.
Exactly. For the campsite.
And my thing is that I love it when his head's on the pillow, and it takes a lot of self-restraint at times not to have his head under the pillow. Just so you know.
Yeah, I've had that happen a few times.
You're like,
he's quiet and still. What can I do to ambush him?
I'm thinking, I've watched too much CSI though, and I know that and being a paramedic, that when you put the pillow over and they can't breathe, the petechiae happens in their eyeballs, you know, the blood vessels burst. So that's probably the only reason I don't. But no, it's not. It's not truly. But I mean, so yeah, I think that these feelings are stuff that they're normal. I mean,
moment, have a plan. I really don't. It's just, that's why I want to go do like I said, the fire. The trees and the firewood.
Can you see Roxy on her little scooter with her leg, with the little one leg up thing? But she's walking on it now. Okay, like 3 weeks ago, Roxy on her little scooter with her leg up, chopping the firewood.
Chopping wood.
Yeah. That's it's a good thing you have a friend who's a paramedic.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
But
there's good things about them too.
There's a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's good is really good. What's good is very good when it is, you know.
Like, okay, like this year this year is 10 years being married to him. And for the first time in those 10 years, he actually made an effort to go buy a card. He brought me flowers.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and I didn't have to mention it was the anniversary. I didn't have to do anything. And so, and then he brought me breakfast in bed.
See?
Yeah, and then we spent the day together. So that was nice.
Yeah.
And not that we haven't done those things before, but it was just the extra effort that he
Yeah.
put into it. So that felt really nice. So
It's
they were good.
sometimes that's all we need, you know, just
Exactly.
that little bit, but sometimes they're not able to give that when they're in that place. You know, particularly when you're not in a PTSD episode, when you're in a PTSD zone for like 6 days straight.
Yeah, because they cycle. I mean, so
Ugh.
there, and every veteran's different, and some of them have moments, and some of them have cycles where, you know, and it's strange because usually, and Michelle and I have noticed this since probably August,
Mhm.
when Damon's in his PTSD cycle mode, so it's Carl. It's like they cycle together. It's almost like, women who live together will have their cycles together or who are really good friends. But
Yeah.
it's like every veteran on the planet cycles at the same time. And you're like,
Isn't
oh,
that
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard because you hear everyone else, you know, in our group and around that everything's happening and we still have a crazy world and thank goodness 2020 is gone.
Yeah.
But still, you know, there's still a lot of unrest. But
Oh, and I think it's only going to get worse before it gets better. But
exactly. I think it is
Hey,
too.
speaking about politics, and I don't want to stick there too long, and I'm not trying to subscribe to one political thing or another, I mean, party wise, but I've been watching a little bit of the news, and they're saying that the conservatives are looking at trying to, when they do the vote on June 6th, or sorry,
January
January
6th, yes.
6th, that people are going to vote against not accepting the Biden electoral college win. And so I'm just really curious if you guys have heard that and if that's true. And then what do you suppose that's going to really mean? Because I think it's going to break up or do a set of precedents. And I think that perhaps maybe it should be investigated where I think it's going to push them to do it. But the flip side is, what does that mean for us as a country? And so, and I'm not trying to speak negative. So if Damon's around there and he can hear,
No, he's not.
okay, good. And I'm
Yeah.
not trying to make anxiety for you guys either. But
Yeah,
what
but I think that's a very real anxiety. I think that, and I'm agreeing with you. I don't think one political view over another, that's what makes this country unique, is we have the right to do that.
right.
I'm still a little perplexed that you have to have a driver's license to buy a pack of
Oh,
cigarettes, but
yeah,
you don't
don't
have
get
to
me
have a
started.
driver's license to vote. So, it kind of sways people's trust and opinion.
Yeah.
But I think for so many of our veterans, they have seen unrest in so many other countries, and
Mhm.
they've seen, and I'm not just talking about Afghanistan and Iraq, because let's be realistic, we're not dumb, okay? And we know they went on peacekeeping missions here, there, and everywhere, all over the world.
Yeah.
And so they saw how regime changes happened in other countries and how hostile takeovers happened in other countries in those regimes. So I
Yeah.
think that all this unrest is creating a bigger stressor on them. And
Yeah.
as a result, it creates a bigger stressor on us.
Yep.
So to answer your question, Roxy, can they legally do it? Yes, they can legally do it. There's been a lot of talk about it. I know that there are veterans groups and others thinking about marching on DC on the 6th. But the more that we see the unrest, whatever it
Mhm.
is going to be harder. The more that our rights become taken away from us, it's going to be harder. Carl uses the word a lot. Um, home is first.
Yeah.
And most of the time he's referring to me, him, and our three little furry things. Okay. Most of the time. But when you're deployed, home is your country.
Mhm.
Right.
when we have unbalance in our house, it affects our home. And when we have unbalance in the country, it affects the broader view of home. So I think that there's a lot of turmoil about that. I know families in the military community who aren't even speaking to the rest of the family because of political decisions one way or the other. But again, the right to vote and choose your person, whether we agree or not politically, or anybody agrees politically, that's a right they fought to defend.
And
And I
that's
think
okay.
and
But
it's okay. And I think that by seeing the blatant voter fraud issues that have come out,
yes,
one way or the other, that is kind of taking everything they fought for and thrown it in the trash. And so they're literally seeing this country fall apart at its core. You
Yeah.
know,
right.
we
And that's a
we
big
have a
concern.
yeah, it is. It keeps them on edge. You know, it used to be that if a car rode by, a car would hear it and it was okay. Now, if a car rides by, it is what are they doing here? There's this huge thing of mistrust. There's
Yeah.
this, it's harder for me to go to town by myself because what if something happens between point A and point B and he can't get to me?
Yeah.
So yes, this sense of unrest, I think, is precedent, and it almost becomes oppressive to us because they get on such a weird high alert that, you know, I've heard veterans say they're always in the military mode. They never quite get out of that. But I think
Yeah.
all of a sudden their mission is becoming clearer and clearer to them. And so the distance between us emotionally and physically, between us and our veterans, is getting further and further apart because they're getting themselves almost in like a warlike mindset. And it's
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
very strange to watch that happen.
It
No.
is.
Yeah.
That whole like just detachment, just
Mhm.
I mean that's kind of what I call it.
Well,
Just
yes. I mean, you guys talk about it, and I asked Randy if he has any of that going on. He says no. However, I don't think that he has full awareness of everything yet,
uh-uh.
because plenty of times when I try to give him like boundaries with work and just different situations, he goes, "My gosh," he goes, "You would never be a military wife, a good military wife." I said, "Well, guess what? I knew that, and I didn't marry somebody in the military, but I did."
Yeah, I mean, because I don't think they ever leave that. And I
Yeah.
don't think that, again, we talk about stages of stages where they're at and
Mhm.
stages where we're all at.
Uh-huh.
So I think that Randy, you know, just being new to the concept of accepting the PTSD,
Uh-huh.
he's not fully aware of that sense. But then you take
Yeah.
somebody like Carl who's been very aware of it, and then, you know, when he's talked to some of these other veterans, like especially on a Thursday night, it was one of the other veterans on a Thursday night who made it very clear, and he said, "We don't ever leave our war. We don't ever leave that military. We don't ever leave that battle." And so I think that whether they realize it is a part of how they think, they're so programmed to think a certain way that they almost do it instinctively. I mean, like,
Right.
Yeah.
I can make coffee at the weird tail hour of the morning and still know exactly how many scoops go in my coffee because I've done that so much, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that they're almost in that same mindset that they, it is second nature to them. So, and routine. So that's all they know.
They're on autopilot, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
So even though he's not aware, I think that it's still happening because I still think that the unrest and
Well,
the not knowing
I'm
here is
definitely aware of when we're driving if someone's following us. And I kind of have that kind of stuff too because I was married to a man in my 20s who was abusive. So I've always had that kind of thought, but that kind of dissipated once my daughter was 18 because I always wanted to protect her from him. And I always
Mhm.
thought he would come and take her. So that, but I still have some of it. You know that thing that where women, when they're abused, they always have a little get out and go bag.
Mhm.
That stayed with me for a long time. And, where I would be able to grab my daughter and leave.
Yeah.
But so I get it. And I actually am aware of if someone's kind of following me, I'll go and do those turns. I think it's right, right, right. See if they're following you, that kind of thing. And he's the same way, but it's heightened. And he goes,
Oh, yeah,
let's not go home.
I think it is, and I think that everybody, and again, we talk about, there's no cookie cutter stamp for this, but I think that everybody's past experiences, whether it's their past military experience, because not everybody did infantry, and not everybody was a medic, and not everybody was in the same place at the same time, and not everybody, so you have all these different things, and when did they enlist in their life? Did they enlist at 18, 19 years old, or did they enlist at 24, 25? That plays a big difference. Your past dynamics of your family play a big difference.
Yeah,
Your spouse and what they've been through carries a big difference. Like, I too was in a very abusive first marriage, and there are things that are typical PTSD reactions, like slamming a door, or when they get in a rage or slamming something down. That totally triggers me. That is like the worst thing ever for me. And so I do get it. I was like you. I carried the extra bag. It was not until probably 5 months ago that I ever moved all of my money onto one bank account and didn't always carry a prepaid debit card that had X number of dollars on it so I could leave. I did that for a very long time.
Yeah.
The better part of 20 years.
Right. I do want to add, even though we have these crazy moments, that being with him, because it is a relationship, I am a healthier woman and a stronger woman because of him. So even though we've had these last, because he's always wanted me to be the best woman, the one that God intended me to be. So in a lot of ways, I'm more secure, even though I have this certain amount of, instability. And I don't want to say it that, because he's not gonna leave me. He's not gonna leave me destitute. He's not gonna do certain things. But the instability of knowing the dark days, basically. The dark days are really hard.
Like the fear of the next one? Is that what you're talking about? Or like,
I know
next
it's
one.
not that I know, it's not that I don't, it's not like a fear or anything of, oh, I'm walking on eggshells kind of thing. That would have been with my first husband.
Yeah.
This is more of, it's a dark day.
Yeah.
It's a dark day either because of my own pain, because of the PTSD, or because of where he's at. Like maybe he's more distant and then I sense it. So those are the hard things. Or when an emotional need isn't being met, or because he can't get it. And
do you guys honestly think that most veterans with PTSD, for the most part, are able to give what we emotionally want and or need? That they're capable of?
Let me rephrase that.
The empathy, the apathy,
yes, I think they're eventually able to do that.
Glimpses, I've seen glimpses, but yeah.
But I will say this. When I started researching this month's topics, a lot of it came from, we can't read their minds. So when they're in a place, we don't know that they're in a place a lot of times, and so we can't read their mind. So, when I come in to be loving or kind or gentle or whatever, and he pulls away and he's in a mood, I can't read that mind when I walk in the room, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the same thing happens for us, but we don't always know how to ask for it.
I
We
know.
don't
I
always,
know. I don't know. I'm guilty
we
of that.
don't know, we don't know how to say, hey,
Um,
look, I need you to hold me today, or because the way we set up the verbiage, and again, I think that goes to relationship and not necessarily PTSD. I think that part
Yeah.
of it is not so much PTSD related as it is veteran related. When they're in theater, when they're in country,
Yep.
they cannot afford to think about their family or they're going to get killed or somebody else's. And it was prime example when Harold shared with us, he said it was Christmas Eve night and they were in country and all the guys were kind of sitting around. It was kind of like their downtime and they were celebrating Christmas Eve and they were talking about their families, and the enemy took that opportunity to blow them up, blow up a lot of people away. So the minute that they think about home and they think about that intimacy and they think about that connection, they lost their sense of protection.
Yeah.
They lost their focus. And so do I think they can get it? Yes, because I will tell you, just like Roxy will say this, Carl can drive me batshit crazy. Okay.
I know that term.
Yay. But he also loves me deeper than anybody has ever loved me before.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like Randy, he pushes me to be the best version of myself.
Yep. Damon.
He pushes me to be stronger. The terminology he used in the beginning was, well, if you would do this, and I was like, whoa, 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 so I do nothing right. It was the way it came out. But when we started learning to communicate better,
Yeah.
and communicate in a way that was positive for both of us, dealing with our own past baggage, and I would say to him, but I heard, and he, in the beginning, he said, well, that's on you. That's not what I meant. And I said, no, you need to be a little more. So we learned to get past that. And so now it is like when I'm doing this, he says to me, I am so proud of what you've accomplished and what y'all are doing. Baby, you need downtime. I can see how tired you are. Or we
Yeah.
need us time. But I'm so proud of you. When instead of coming in 6 months ago, he would have said, well, you need to take a break and you're overwhelmed and you need to stop and you needed this and you needed that. And it would have been very negative in the way I took it. But
Yeah.
the exact same thing was said. So yeah, are they capable of empathy and love? Yes.
Mhm.
It takes a long time. It takes a place that we have to develop that intimacy together, and
Yeah.
everybody's intimacy is not on the same level.
Right.
Right. And that's where
Y'all
you
are,
go the
yeah,
family
go ahead.
dynamic thing. This was really critical for me. So I'm not trying to cut you off. So I hope you don't lose your place, but I just wanted to interject that in my dysfunctional family, well, first let's talk about dysfunctional family, okay? There is no perfect family out there. So 99.9% of families are
Are
dysfunctional.
dysfunctional.
The 0.9 are in denial.
That's right. I agree.
So when you look at my family and the dysfunctional when I was growing up, I was the scapegoat. Those roles in the family are very, very critical to understand about you yourself and who your husband is in their family, because their ability and the way they respond to you is exactly their role in their family. And so for me, I'm the scapegoat. Okay. And so in the scapegoat, if they're the ones that are more self-aware and they're the ones that point out this is wrong, that's wrong, this is what we need to
What's
do.
wrong is the damn chickens out in the backyard.
Hey, get out of here. No boys allowed.
Go fix the chicken. Go
Yeah.
take
Stinky,
care.
stinky boys. No stinky boys.
Yeah, no stinky boys.
And I think that, Roxy, that's where you're hitting the nail on the head, because every one of our relationships are different.
Yes.
Do they have similar traits? Yes, we
Yes.
go through similar traits in the relationship thing, but the role you played and the role, I think that I like that better, the way you said it, because I just call it baggage and you call it roles, and I thought that was a better scenario. But
Yeah.
by the way, I like my rolls with butter on them, please. A little Paula Deen up on my
Butter.
rolls.
I like my rolls right about here in my belly.
There's stinky boys.
Out of here.
Yeah, no stinky boys.
He's so cute the way he just pops in and out.
I know.
And
He wants what we're talking about. What a nosy Rosie.
well, it's gonna be on Facebook eventually anyway, so he'll hear it. But and he knows. But he's
Yeah,
Man,
no, I know.
my
So
saint is letting me do this.
That's right. So on Randy's side of the family, okay, he's the hero. He plays the role of the hero in his family. And in real life, he is the hero because he sacrificed and you know, had a military career. And so he has two things in that department. So I think that's why it's especially hard for him to go get help, because
Mhm.
in his family role, he was the perfect child. He's the
Mhm.
hero. He's the one that made the whole family look good.
I think it's hard for them to get help too, because they're in fear of what kind of help they're going to be provided.
And it being on
And
their record and this and that. So
exactly.
very, very, it was very insightful for me when I finally figured that out. And it wasn't me per se, it was more of me and my dialogue with God when I was reading the paperwork, family dynamic. Okay, yes, I've always known I was the scapegoat. Okay, well, so then I'm like, gosh, well then, because I always looked at Randy as him being a good guy and like not really perfect, but perfect for me, you know, because he was there flat and I'm up and down and up and down. And whenever I'm freaking out, I can go to him and everything's okay. And then, so when I started to look at him and not to analyze him per se, but it helped me understand.
You understand, yeah.
That's why he is the way that he is. But it makes me hate his family even more.
Yeah.
Really,
And I have this hate of Carl's family. Because he was always the black sheep and the scapegoat and the one they dumped everything on, and he was that. His ex-wife situation is horrible. You know, and then I've gone through a lot of period of hate. I've hated the military, and I love the military.
the military and the VA.
I love this country. I'm a firm believer. Look, anybody who was raised and born and bred and raised in Yorktown, Virginia, where the English, the British surrendered to George Washington, you have a special love for this country. I mean, you know, I walked on dirt that people died on to get this country. Not just where any brother had trod, but where people did. And so I love this country. I always have, I always will. But I have had such an anger and hate seeing this side of it sometimes, that I hate the VA at times and what they do. I hate the stigma of PTSD being a mental disorder, because you're taking somebody who already feels broken and you're putting more pressure on them, that now they have this stigma of being mentally unstable.
Or take the medication when maybe medication's not the right thing.
Well, and there's only two medications, Paxil and Zoloft, two, that are approved by the FDA to treat PTSD.
Isn't that awesome?
That is,
because I don't think they ever give them any of those, do they?
and that's even on the VA website. There are only two FDA approved drugs to treat PTSD.
Everything else is used off label.
It's used off label, or it's used for other conditions so
Yes.
that they can prescribe them. And Michelle, you know, Damon was on what, 30 medications when y'all met?
Yes.
And Paxil and Zoloft weren't two of them.
Nope, they weren't.
So, so I do build up a resentment, and there's a lot of times that I find myself looking at Carl through pity when I don't need to.
Right.
And I find myself sometimes, and he used the word demasculating him sometimes because I see the pity, and as a nurturer, I'm like Michelle. I'm a Virgo. I'm a type A, super strong, want things this is just who I am. I'm take control kind of person. Y'all know that. That's no secret. And when I can't just scoop him up and take control of him, not take control of him, but control of his world and make his world better, that really hurts. So I think that you're right. You have to learn where your role is in your family life prior to where his was, to find that new balance. And I'm going to go, I don't talk a lot, but y'all are older, so you remember this book. Do you remember the little golden book? When she was good, she was very, very good. And when she was bad, she was horrid.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was the same little girl. And when she was good, she was like this angel. And when she was bad, she was horrible. I think that's how I feel sometimes with the PTSD, because
Yeah.
When I got sick, there is nobody who ever stepped up to the plate the way that man has, and loved me and let me cry. And there's days that I'm like, but I'm having a lupus moment. And he says, suck it up, buttercup, you can do this. Because he knows there's going to be days that I can't, and he doesn't let me wallow in that pity. And so, yeah, I mean, there's so much love for him.
Don't just do it.
That's
And
what?
difference. And that's probably what he's seeing.
He sees that there's a big difference, and he said that. And but he's still on this suck it up, buttercup moment, that I need to do what I can do. And so, at the core of my day, and I've said this 1,000 times, and I think we can all agree to this, the very core of this whole thing about making these relationships work is you have to love them wholly and passionately.
Yep.
Yes.
And even
And
when,
don't let go.
And don't let go. And even when the darkness comes and you feel you can't climb out and you feel you're in that place, you, just like we did in those worksheets about, in your relationships, the ones we just did, caregiver versus partner. What are you really angry at them as a person? Are you angry at what PTSD? Are you angry at the PTSD?
The
Right.
PT. Yeah.
And I think you have to remember that sometimes it is the PTSD member that you're mad at, not that.
And right. And then those dark, when I call it a dark day, I try not to dwell on, is it worth it? Would it, all the negative stuff. I try just to not talk to people, because I just might sound like a dragon.
Dragon.
Something I always say to myself is I'll ask myself, what is this trying to teach me? That's something that's been instrumental in a little bit of my healing going forward. It's helped me go, wait a minute, Michelle, stop. Is this trying to teach you something? What can you gain from this? And looking at it positively.
Right.
And taking those lessons and moving forward. It's helped a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the other thing that we've all seen, the three of us especially have all seen, is that my personal growth because of this has been amazing.
Yeah, mine too.
I'm learning to sorry, I'm fidgety. I'm learning to make me and my head and my well-being a priority, because I can't deal with the other.
You have to take care of yourself.
Yes, definitely. I have a headache, so I need to go grab a pill. So I'll be right back.
Okay.
Love her. But I do. I think that, and I think the other thing is, I could not do this without you.
I cannot do this without you. There's no way.
And so I think having
my balls even came in 2021. My balls descended.
Yeah, and they stayed upright. But I think that the thing that is so critical is you've got to find that connection with somebody else who goes through this, because talking to other people about it that don't live it,
No.
their answer becomes leave, go away, are you nuts?
Exactly.
And there's so much more good.
I know
There's so much more good than there is the bad.
there is. And when it's good, it's amazing, you know? Because I know, like when you say you've never been loved in that way before, it's the same way with he and I, you know, just never, it's like, I felt like I waited my whole life for him, and he feels the same way too. Just having to navigate.
And then you have these moments when you're like, why am I here? And it makes you question that, but you're right. I have waited my whole life for that man who keeps walking back and forth.
Yep.
I have
Me
waited
too.
my whole life.
I mean, not yours. I'm like, me too.
Yeah, I know.
not him.
I know. I love Damon too. But I've waited my whole life for that. And
I'm like, I got one. I don't want another one.
Yeah, I waited my whole life for Randy, you know, and I'm not gonna let him go. It's just like, even when I'm crying and hysterical and he's going crazy, someone might be at my door where they're supposed to deliver something. I'm sorry, I'll be back.
Okay.
I love her. This is so real. Yeah, but I mean, it's real, and it's what we live in every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
She's
is.
so
It
cute.
is.
They delivering stuff to her door. She retail therapies.
Oh, she retail therapying?
I guess.
You silly girl.
Parlay luncheon is drinking milk, so that usually means
I know that he's out there somewheres getting lunch or something. What time is? Oh, it's like 1 or 2.
it's like almost 4 here, so that makes it 2 o'clock there.
It seems so late. It's not. There's some snow out there.
I love it. See me on a snow day.
It's not snow. It's in the mountains.
Oh, look, I get a snow field trip.
This is from my bedroom, my door in my bedroom back here. And it got a little bit of snow.
I get a snow field trip.
Oh. There you go.
Nice. Thank you for the snow.
Because you can show me the beach.
So where are we?
You took me on a snow field trip.
Something one of my friends taught me is there's seasons in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I always like that analogy. She said that to me, I don't know how long, like 15 years ago. And I was like, And so when I look at Randy and then those dark times, I just look at it as a season. It's temporary.
Mm-hmm.
It's an abbreviated season. So, you know, we think of seasons 3 or 4 months, but it doesn't have to be. It could be just a season in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the only way I get through it. I get through it that our day is made up of moments. And there are good moments and there are bad moments, but you don't let one overshine the other. And again, you know, we wouldn't know and experience sunshine if we didn't experience rain.
That's true.
Yeah.
We wouldn't experience love if we didn't experience pain.
Yep. Unconditional.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, there's like intimacy with your veteran on a whole nother level than I think of just basic relationships. Don't you guys think?
Oh, yeah.
Like there's
just
When
he can open.
I said because of the dark days.
Well, yeah, not just that, but I think when he can start to open up, just like Randy did with you in the 2 miles, when they can open up to you about the demons that have been held in their head for so long, and they have that kind of trust with you, that's not something you get with everybody else.
No.
And it
takes time.
It does. And it is, that is some of the most rewarding times. Just being in their presence sometimes is incredibly rewarding.
It is.
You know, it is incredibly rewarding. And for me, like learning how to stop what used to have been a huge explosion that would put him in a very bad place for days,
Yeah.
learning how to navigate through that and learning how to stop or calm it down. So it's just a few hours or a few minutes,
Yeah.
you know, it is, that's like this huge victory.
It is.
All right, and girls getting the last thoughts because we'll be like talking all day and these people be like tired of listening to us a little bit. So
The reason why I was looking down is that my mischief dog is trying to get on, wants to get the other one to play. And the other dogs, it tends to be a little bit mean. And the mischief dog is timid. So she's silently growling, looking at her like, come on, let's play. And the other one just kind of like,
oh look, she got the veteran and the dragon lady dog.
Like,
yes,
Well,
this is a dragon. She can be a dragon lady too.
She's so cute though. Oh my
Yes,
gosh,
and
she's precious.
very sweet and loving. I guess like me.
Where Michelle go? Her phone done gone away. Michelle, come back her.
hello.
All
I
right,
need to-
parting thoughts.
Parting
Roxy,
thoughts.
you. Parting
Any
thoughts.
final
Parting
thought?
thoughts so we can stop this. We're gonna, because we'll do it again next week.
Okay. Well, that topic on your role in your family.
Yeah.
I think that's something that people should highly
Think about.
encourage them to look at that and introspect and get to love yourself as who you played, what your role was in your family, and look at the rest of your family, and then look at your husband's family or significant other and their family and who played what in their family. And then you can have maybe a little bit of sympathy and
Yeah.
empathy for the situation. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that I hate his family, especially if this is going to be in public. I have a very strong feeling of frustration from that side for a lot of reasons. And I do not mean to attack them publicly.
There's her disclaimer at the end. The Roxy disclaimer. Michelle, parting thoughts?
Parting thoughts. Well, it's definitely, just us getting together every week like this and just sharing our experiences and some of those tools that we use to navigate through this on those crazy days, I think is going to help a lot of people. Because I know we learn stuff every day that helps us.
Yeah, be just kind to yourself.
And that's one thing I decided for this year. It's like that's it. No more, a lot more self-care, a lot more being kind to yourself and taking care of you, because you can't take care of anyone else.
That's right. You can't take care of anybody if you're on empty.
That's right.
So yeah.
Right.
That came out of my good book, Grace Not Perfection. It's an amazing book. I read that.
I have not read it
think
yet. I need to get off my tushy and get it.
You
and
need
read
to read Perfect Mess. That's the one we're doing starting Tuesday.
That's Tuesday. More perfect.
Do
Mess.
they have a talking video or a talking book? I mean, because
I don't know.
It's Audible. They might.
I don't know. I don't know if it comes in Audible. You'll love it, Rox. You'll love it.
I'm just not so much a book.
But it's quick. It's a quick read. It's not like it's a deep book. It's more like Lisa, these little points to ponder kind of thing. It's a real quick read. It's not,
Okay.
we're not reading deep and I'm when I did the books, I kind of picked more self-help, easy to read. There's only 12 chapters. They go really quick, but they're through the book of Psalms. So it's like 5-page per thing, Bible study kind of deal.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I think my parting thought, the one thing I've learned from all of this journey is PTSD is their illness, but it's the family's disease.
That's so true.
Yeah.
They're the only ones who physically have the manifestation.
It affects the family too.
But it affects the family. And I think that learning to assign roles is critical. And I will say, and I don't know how we'll exactly formulate this through this group, but we will. I probably will call my dear friend Jeannie Lutz and say, all right, we're going to rewrite your Buddy Up program in your app to make it virtual using guys, but we need that same support structure for us. I think that we need that intimate support structure because there's
Mhm.
things that the three of us know about our lives and our veterans that we don't know about other lives and other veterans because we share so much.
Yeah.
You know, that with each other intimately about our stuff that we will never share on here, you know, what some of those things,
Yeah.
because it is a private bond between us, kind of like war fighters, you know, with our veterans and our warriors, that what they share with other combat buddies will never get shared with us. And I think that when we come up with that kind of support structure that is besides what we post in the groups, because that is very private. And when
Yeah,
we're
we
done
need to
with
have a safe place.
safe place. And when we're done with this, I need to ask y'all still don't get off my till we're done recording because I need to talk about one other thing. But so that was just kind of our girl talk. Y'all let us know if you have questions, you want to join us, send us a message because we'd like more than just the three of us having a conversation all the time.
We need more girlies giving us more tools for our toolbox.
And have more coffee
and more coffee.
And wine.
And
Yeah.
wine.
Cheese and
Ooh,
crack.
I'm gonna get Damon to cook me eggs.
I know. Bacon and eggs.
That's right. All right. I'll stop. Y'all have a great and blessed day. Thank you for joining all of us. Bye.
Bye.